Hi guys, welcome to another video from Overbite Gaming, and today we're taking a look at Space Marine 2. Obviously Space Marine 2 is the sequel to Space Marine, I guess 1. Relatively old game, can't remember how old at the top of my head, it's over 10 years I believe. And it's a good game in and of itself, and I played the heck out of it. In fact, I replayed it a couple weeks prior to Space Marine 2's release just to refamiliarise myself with the story. Because it is a continuation, you don't need to have played the first one, but it does add a little bit if you do. Especially some of the twists you might not get as much out of in the storyline. So the main campaign has you returning as Captain Titus, who at the end of Space Marine, I will spoil it because it is an old game, he was sent off to the Inquisition, try and pronounce that correctly, under suspicion of corruption because he was able to handle a chaos artifact without any negative effects other than it hurting a bit, which is unusual in the world of 40k. Normally you have a third eye or start rotting or have an insatiable urge to pierce your body parts. Something like that usually occurs. And it didn't to Titus, so his subordinate, Leandros, fessed him up to the Inquisition and they took him off. So what's happened in the interim, 100 years later in the universe, because Space Marines are extraordinarily long-lived, they essentially don't die unless they're either introduced to the pointy end of something or a large bullet, or laser, or plasma bolt, or, you know, standard stuff. So 100 years later, he's spent the time in the interim being in the Death Watch. Now, what the Death Watch are is they're like an amalgamation of Marines from other chapters. Normally, Marine chapters are required to send a certain amount of Marines to the Death Watch. But also they will have what's called Black Shields, which are disgraced Marines that have been sent there as penance. The Death Watch are a very specialized unit and are set up to combat the Xenos threats in the galaxy. They have access to all manner of fancy equipment. They basically get the best of the best. The armor is generally customized for every Marine, and they have access to pretty much whatever they need. They are usually deployed in small units rather than mass conflicts, more to take the heads off of Xenos and infestations and stuff like that, rather than to combat the swarm itself. So the game opens with you and two of your Death Watch brothers basically crash landing. You actually fall out of the gunship. I can't remember what it is. It's a specific one that Death Watch usually employ, but I can't remember the name of it, so forgive me. And you're there to set off a virus bomb to help quell an infestation on a world. You manage to do it, but you are impaled and are rescued by your former Ultramarine brothers and are taken back to their ship, where you are given the Rubicon surgery, which turns you into a Primaris Marines. Primaris Marines are just Marine Plus, basically. They're bigger, stronger, faster, and are there explicitly to sell you the models all over again, which is the case. Which, you know, I don't like that. I don't like the business sort of decision behind that, because I think it's very anti-consumer. But I do like the models and they look cool. So why don't you take your choices, don't you? I mean, I do have Primaris Marines in my collection because I do have combat patrols and stuff like that. So having done that, you are then put back into the Ultramarines. They reacquire you, and you are given lead of a squad, demoting the sergeant that was leading the squad, as you have been reinstated as a lieutenant and not your former rank of captain. And then you go off and have to defend planets against the Xenos invasion of the Tyranids. The Tyranids are basically the Zerg. The Zerg are basically the Tyranids. I believe the Zerg were initially conceived as part of a Warhammer 40k property, and that fell through, and they just changed into the Zerg and decided to use them that. It's basically just insectile monsters that eat everything and consume biomass to make more of themselves and spread throughout the galaxy. So that's the Tyranids for you. I was concerned because obviously the Tyranids are not the most personable foes, but they do introduce another faction who become the primary protagonists later on. I mean, you've probably seen all of the Gump, but I won't say who they are here because I don't want to ruin anything for those that might not have played it yet and don't are not aware of the secondary antagonists. They're not my favourite selection of the antagonists, so there I might do a spoiler section near the end, so I can talk about that a little bit more. But carrying on. So that's the campaign. The combat is very good, very good. I do have a few gripes with it, just a few, and they're mostly probably skill based. So whatever. So obviously, being a Space Marine, you come with guns. You can carry 2, a sidearm and a main weapon, and it's your standard stuff. So you've got your bolt pistol, your heavy bolt pistol, your bolt rifle, your bolt rifles, your plasma destructors, your las fusiliers. There is a ton of different weapons. A lot of them are fairly similar, like you have different types of bolt carbines and different types of bolt snipers, stuff like that. But they're all fun to use. They all have their own uses. You're never, until you replay, you're never sure what we've picked as a choice, because you'll come up and they'll be like, oh, here's a sniper rifle, and here's a carbine, which is essentially a submachine gun. And you're like, well, so it's either going to be short range or long range, but you're not telling me which I should probably prepare for, so I'll guess and hope I get the right one. There was a point in the first game which was very annoying for me, in that in the first game you take a Thunderhammer at one point, and that means you can't carry weaponry other than a sidearm. So I got that, and I took a plasma pistol, because plasma pistols are good punchy weapons. They do a lot of damage for being a pistol. But it's not like firing a bullet. It's a ball of energy that travels relatively slowly compared to a bullet. And then I found myself in a position where I was stuck on basically the other side of a chasm and was trying to shoot the bad guys who were constantly moving back and forth with a slow moving ball of plasma. And obviously I couldn't hit them with the Thunderhammer because they were all the way over there, so I very quickly regretted my decision of taking the Thunderhammer, and did not make that mistake again in the most recent playthrough, because that took me about 45 minutes trying to shoot all of the damn orcs. The only upside was the plasma weapon didn't have ammo. It just overheated if you used it too much, and you had to wait for it. In this, however, you do get a lot more facility having the sidearm, and that if you take a Thunderhammer, you're back to the sidearm again, essentially. So that's the campaign. The melee combat is really good as well. So you have 3 sort of main things which you do, in which is obviously hitting. All the hitting is based on the right bumper, or R1, depending on the controller of choice, or indeed left mouse button, I suppose. Or is it right mouse button? It's right mouse button. I only played on mouse and keyboard for a little while, because my rechargeable battery in my Xbox Series controller died on me, which was lovely. So what it does is it's a rhythm-based thing. So you tap, pause, or tap, hold, and it's all dealt with. All the hitting is dealt with through that one key. You don't have like a heavy attack. If you want to do a heavy attack, you do a hold, or in some cases that changes your stance, like with power swords. The other thing you'll be doing is parrying. Parrying is key to being good with the game. You can parry regular blows, and you will also get certain blows that are highlighted as parried with a blue marker. And if you perfect parry, what you do is you get the opportunity to do what's called a gun hit, or a gun strike, that was it. Which basically means you whip out your sidearm and shoot them close range in the face for a lot of damage, which is always nice. You also have the dodge, which is the A button on... No, it's the A button on controller, or X, I guess, and the space bar on keyboard. Dodging is the only way you can get out of the way of certain attacks. Red ones that are coming at you are unblockable. So when you parry, you can hold the parry key and will block, which will do chip damage to you, but it will stop most of it from coming through, but you don't get the opportunity to parry and do the gun strike with it. So I should probably do that. So if you do a perfect dodge, you also open up a gun strike opportunity. And there's some attacks, as I said, the ones that are coloured, well, they're more orange than red. I would have preferred it to have been red, but I guess they've made the choice to make them sort of more orange, which doesn't sort of convey quite as much urgency to me, because I am fucking terrible at dodging them. I see the marker come up, and before I register the colour, I just see the marker, so I go to parry, and then it's too late and I can't dodge in time. So I'm awful at dodging. It does have a other function though, and some enemies will sort of do waves of energy that come at you, and you can use the dodge to generate iframes where you just pass through it fine. And it's just timing based, and once you understand it, it's not too difficult. So pretty positive in the combat, but there are a few issues with it. As I said, skill based, I keep parrying when I should be dodging because I'm an idiot. That's on me. I won't fuck it for that. The horde-based nature of the game can cause a few issues. There's been quite a few times when I felt like I'm pinned in. I can't really get out of the way, and when you're pinned in with the little guys, it's bad enough, but when you're pinned in with the little guys and there's like 5 Tyranid warriors all smacking at you as well, it gets a little bit over the top. You've got, like, it's not like a martial arts movie where they'll wait one at a time. It's very much like, there's going to be a lot of attacks coming at you, too many to block, too many to dodge, that sort of thing. And then sometimes the camera doesn't help either, and you can end up in a position where all you're seeing is a swirling mass of alien bodies, and you can't see any of the indicators or what's coming at you or anything. All you can see is your health plummeting. The way it deals with health is slightly different in this one. So before, I believe executions would regen your health, but not your shields. Your shields will come up naturally. This time, executions will regen your shields. You do have a mechanic with your health where, much like in the newer Tekken games, it's recoverable health. So you'll take damage, and then you'll see there's a white, you've got your red bar indicating your remaining life, and then there's a white bar next to it. And the white bar represents the damage you've just taken. If you do damage back, you will regain at least some of that health. If you do an execution, you will regain all of that health. So you can keep it from going down, which is a good thing, because you can carry a maximum of 2 Medicae stim packs, which function as med kits, and they don't fill up your health all the way. They do give you a moderate amount of health back, but you will have the position where you are going through them, because that's the main way of getting your health back. Your armor will regenerate on its own, and there are some other mechanics in other modes to increase the amount of armor that you have. And as I say, you can also get the armor back by doing executions. Executions occur just before the sort of Tyranid dies, and they flash red, which is, I guess, why the warning marker for the unblockable strikes aren't red but orange, because that would clash. And you run up to it and press right 3, or I can't remember what even it is on keyboard. I think it's E. I think. Oh, don't know. And you'll go into a can animation that aren't. When you first do it, you're like, oh yeah, but like after a little while, you come to realize, this particular Tyranid has 3 different animations that I could do, which, they're all very cool. I mean, running up to a Terminagon and just basically crushing his head in your hands, stuff like that. It's really cool. And it does change from the weapon that you're using as well. So if you're using a chain sword, then there'll be like 3 different types of animations of you taking out a Tyranid warrior. But there's only those 3, so you will see them a lot. So they do kind of lose their luster after a little while. They're never sort of uncool, but you're just like, kind of like to have seen a new one. But I mean, it's very nitpicky. I mean, there's plenty there. There's a few which have less, like the killing moves on some of the other protagonists. I think there's like 2. You kill them 2 different ways, and it gets old pretty quick. But it's all very nitpicky. The game itself deals with combat really well. You also have different types of grenades. So you have frag grenades, which are your standard fragmentation grenades. Slightly lower damage but over a wider area. You have crack grenades, which are the sort of armor busting grenades that do more damage but in a smaller area. You have melter bombs which do extreme damage over a wide area, but you put them down where you stood and then have to detonate them later when presumably you're out of the way and the alien bad guys are not. You also have shock grenades which function just as a stun grenade really. It's sort of anyone caught in the explosion will stand in its place. The Tyranids will fight back with their own versions. They have guns that spit out little mines, little spore mine type dealies. No, they're not spore mines because spore mines are in it, but they're like wires, organic wire that if you step on it goes poof and puts out a cloud of spores which degrades your armor and health, and then you can't see very much and it goes away after a little while. So shooting those spores on the ground are pretty key because they put out a fuck ton of them and it's really annoying. The Tyranids also have ranged weaponry, as I say, and some of them have psychic abilities as well, like the neurothropes and stuff like that. It's a good mix of bad guys. They really sort of give you quite a few Tyranids to have to deal with. Things like lictors, which go invisible, which is fun, and attack you from ambush points. And you have to react to quite quickly, otherwise you can get pinned down, and you have to waggle the left stick and then hit the parry button at the right time, which is fun. All the while he's smacking you, waggling your left stick, so the quicker you do it, easier. Less damage you will take. So you have that, you have Carnifexes, you have all sorts that pop up during the campaign. The campaign is a bit limited, so you don't really have too much of an opportunity to change up Titus's look. I got a few DLC bits which gives me like a different shoulder guard and some skins for my weapons due to the fact it was pre-ordered for me. Once again, thank you Bungle, Sugar Daddy. And there's that. But then you move on to the operations. Now the operations are currently, there's only 6 of them, which is a little bit low, but there is a reason for this and there is more coming. So during the campaign, Titus will send other groups of Marines to do other things that aid him in his main mission. Like it might be stalling the swarm or blowing something up. And basically these operations are you doing those parts of the missions. So if you wanted to, you could switch out to the operations mode, do that, and then come back to the campaign and carry it on. Which is a nice touch, and it does give you the option to do that, but I was just going, no, I want to be Titus Blower. But, so in that, you get a series of classes that come with not as wide. I mean, Titus can use pretty much any Space Marine weapon, but the classes are limited to what they can and cannot use. So you won't get an Assault Marine lugging around a heavy bolt or something like that. So you get the Tactical Marine, you get a Vanguard, you get a Bulwark, you get the one I can't remember the name of that has a grappling hook. That one, a Sniper, and the Assault Marine. And they all have different things. The Assault Marine has a jump pack. You can have it with a Thunder Hammer and a sidearm and just go to town, but it obviously doesn't have too much long-range facility. And you can be shot out of the air when you're coming down with your jump pack. So, there's care that needs to be taken with them. But you can customize them. You can unlock different chapter color schemes, armor parts as you go up. The guns are upgradable as well, so as you use them you'll get XP in them, then you'll master them, you'll get a mastery point, and once you've unlocked the next tier you can use that mastery point to unlock a different type of gun. So it'll be like regular, mastercrafted, artificer, and relic, I think, are the different tiers. And they all, as you go up you get better stats, like hold more ammo, do more damage, have better range, less spread, that sort of thing. So it's super worth doing. The classes themselves have levels, and you get perk points every time you go up one, and you can use that to unlock new abilities, which may be like, I do 5% more damage from melee, or things like that. Just passive things that help with your survivability. Each of the classes have their own sort of individual special ability. Like the Tactical Marine can throw down an Auspex scanner, which means everybody does more damage to any bad guy that is within that bubble, which is nice. That will also reveal hidden enemies like lictors. They will show up inside the Auspex field as well, which is super cool. Then you have The submarine shuttle obviously has the jetpack, so you can go up in the air, boost around, you can come down and sort of like a meteor and fall on his foes from above, things like that. So yeah, you get like a different ability with each one, and operations mode is probably where I have my biggest problem with the game, unfortunately. Because while I enjoy it, it is very difficult, even on easy, until you've like grinded your marine up a few levels and maybe got a better weapon. It's not easy to complete an operation unless you're with human players. As it turns out, you will be with human players because they haven't implemented single player player, even though that was one of the advertised points of them. If you go into operations and select an operation, there's no option to just take bots. You will be match made. Now you can go offline by either going to Steam offline mode or just by disabling your network card. But then, as soon as you go online, any progress you've made offline is erased and you've wasted your time. It's highly frustrating because I don't want to play with other players, at least not initially, because what I want to do is I want to learn the map. So I want to think, okay, well I know there's usually an armory data around here, there's a data that I haven't done around there. Meanwhile, you're playing with players that have already done this, and they're just steaming through it because they want the XP. You know, very rarely will they wait around, and if you can be kicked from games. So if you are just going everywhere and they're like, "Fucking hell, come on, newbie, get up here," then they might kick you. So I'm stunned that they didn't launch it with that support. Now it is coming this month. You have private PvE lobbies, which should be there already, in my opinion. It makes it very frustrating for me, anyway, because yes, the human players are obviously better than the bots, and yes, they're probably over level compared to the bots, so you'll have an easier time completing operations with them, but you won't learn the map. You won't get the chance. They will just be off. And then you'll be left on your own, and you're wandering a bunch of Tyranids, and they're miles away, and you're like, fucking dead. And sometimes they don't bother reviving you either, especially if you're the one that's like not contributing because you're like level 1 and doing fuck all damage. Or just your skill ceiling isn't that high yet because you haven't played it enough, or you don't know the map, or that sort of thing. So I think bot play would have been a much better experience to have like opened it up with, and I have played some bot games because I investigated the possibility of doing it offline. But it's very clear that you will not get your progress saved, and it does not save your progress. I can confirm 100%, having dropped a level when I went back in, just testing. So there's that. Outside of that, the operations are super fun. It's a shame there's only 6 of them. They are pretty difficult, as I say, but you can pretty much grind your way past the difficulty level. Now, moving on to multiplayer, which I have played a little bit of. I didn't play a lot of it because I got absolutely manhandled in it. I was just destroyed. The way it plays is very glass cannon-y. All of the Marines can kill all the other Marines, and can do so in little strikes. You get to the point where in combat 1 or 2 swings makes the difference. So it's like, did I get in the initial swing? If I did, I'm probably gonna win. That sort of thing. I haven't played enough of it to be like a voice of mastery on it, but that's what it seemed like to me. Me being me, yes, I got my ass handed to me. I was bottom of every game I played, so yeah, it wasn't fun for me. But multiplayer usually isn't, because there's usually people so much better than I am, because I'm crap. I guess that's what comes from playing most games on easy, yeah? But yeah, I mean, I think that has a lot of appeal to it, because you can be Chaos Marines in this, which is interesting. I'll go on to why it's interesting. So you can be like Chaos Marines, but it's locked to classes. So for instance, I believe the Assault Marine in the Chaos side of things is a Night Lord, which is very cool. But it's like, okay, it's a Night Lord. Why can't I be a World Eater or a Word Bearer or, something like that? I think they really need to lean into the Chaos a bit more. The Chaos armors aren't customizable either, which is another negative. You should be able to customize them and give us some like extra bits. You can use unlocked heraldry and colours in operations for Chaos chapters. Like, of course, being the guy I am, and having Khorne is my World Eaters is my combat patrol of choice. I unlock those, but you just end up with a Primaris Marine in, Khorne Berserker colours and with World Eater livery on them, and that's all. There's no way of changing the operations armour to actually be chaotic. It's all Imperium stuff. Now I know you're operating as part of sort of a side piece to the campaign, which is obviously Imperial based. Most of the players you'll be with will be Imperial agents. You're coming off an Imperial battle barge, you're in an Imperial gunship. But, I would like that choice, to be honest. And there are instances of Imperial and Heretic forces working together, especially against like Orcs or Tyranids. I think the one I'm thinking of is, I think Iron Warriors worked with, I can't remember the Loyalist chapter, but Iron Warriors worked with somebody, I think it was against Orcs, because they sort of came across them while they were getting, butt fucked by the Orcs, basically. I think it was during the Beast story arc, where the Orcs had like battle moons and were like right outside of like basically one turns out right outside Terra. But I think it was part of that. And Iron Warriors definitely worked with somebody Loyalist. So there's that. I'm sidetracked. Sorry. I do. It's kind of an abusive relationship, but I do really like Warhammer 40k lore, and I've been in and out of the game since the Rogue Trader days. So there's that. Although, female custodies, come on, what you doing? Oh, don't go on the Steam message boards. It's all like, I think they're just doing it for Steam points for awards and shit. They're just like, well, I think there should be female Space Marines. Said no one that had any inkling about the lore ever, because Space Marines are based on the genetic material. They're basically young lads, and they're implanted with the genetic material of their Primarchs, right? And that makes them a lot more like their Primarchs, which is why you can't have women, because all the Primarchs are male. And the Primarchs were engineered, all of them are male. There are two missing, so maybe there could be a female one there, but they were purged because, not great examples of Primarchery, obviously. Not that a lot of them were, to be fair. There were some bad uns in the group, shall we say. But that is why. Now, Custodians are a little bit different in the fact they're not templated on a Primarch, and they are basically handcrafted. But there are instances of the lore where they've been referred to as men, sons, that sort of thing. So for them to come out and say, yeah, there's always been female ones, it's like, well, no one's ever fucking mentioned them. Whatever. I'm not too keen on Custodians. It just seemed like... It's kind of the same thing about Primaris. It's like, yeah, this is a Space Marine, he's the peak of like human ability, and, all that. But here's a better one. Because we want to sell you more models. That sort of thing. It's kind of like what they do with the Predator and Predators. And it's like, oh, these ones are better. These are bigger and have bigger gammy mouths. That sort of thing. It bugs me when something's so iconic and it's supposed to be like top tier, and then they're just like, no, there's a new top tier now. Belisarius Cawl just did it on the sly, and you had all this excellent equipment just for the Primaris Marines that the regular Marines couldn't touch because they're filthy casuals and weren't allowed fucking floating tanks or better guns or better armor. No, they had to do what they had, and I've kept it all safely stored, ready for the Primaris to come forth and use it. It's like, yeah, great, nice one, Belisarius. Cool, you dick. But anyway, getting off topic, very much so. Okay, so I'm going to do a slight spoiler section here because I do want to talk about the other faction. The other faction, so spoilers.
Your mission is to use the
The other faction are indeed the Thousand Sons. I mean, you're probably aware of it. It wasn't really hid very well in the marketing. It wasn't sort of the surprise that it was in the first one when the Black Legion turned up, which I wasn't expecting at the time, but I certainly was expecting the Thousand Sons this time around. I think my main sort of sticking point in the Thousand Sons, I mean, they're a cool army. I kind of have a lot of sympathy for Magnus and what happened. So from a lore standpoint, I'm cool with it. Ahriman in 30k is a boss. I mean, 40k is a knob end, but yeah, it's a different thing, isn't it? But what I don't like about it is most of the guys you fight are Rubric Marines. You also have Scarab Occult Terminators and some Sorcerers, but they all do the potpourri thing when you kill them. And I would much rather it have been like another Chaos faction, like the Word Bearers. Who wouldn't want to pull the heads off a World Bearer and see it fountain with gore, eh? Scumbags. So it's just a lack of this visceralness of like the executions when you do it. It's like, I pulled his head off and then it just exploded in like confetti. It's just,
you are fertilizer now.
I don't know, it just seems out of place after like spending most of the previous half of the game tearing through mushy Xenos with my chainsaw, and then I get to like Rubric Marines and they just pop like a party popper, I know it's all lore accurate. I know they're dust, contained within their armor and all that with chaos energy. These are the guys that I'll give you some lore on it. Why not? So basically, Ahriman tried to undo the flesh change, which was a curse on the Thousand Sons, where using their psychic abilities while the banning would often cause mutation, and they turn into chaos spawns and all kinds of gribblies and attack whatever was around them. So in order to try and solve this and stop losing so many people to the flesh change, Ahriman did the Rubric, which was a spell which was supposed to like free them from the flesh change, and it kind of worked. Like the most powerful sort of psychos amongst them did survive and were no longer subject to the flesh change. Unfortunately, anybody that wasn't amongst that very select group kind of got turned into dust and bonded into their armor and basically walking automatons, and now Ahriman is obsessed with trying to like undo their condition. Not sure you're gonna undo a vaporization, my friend, but you do you. And that's a Rubric Marine. It's just a sentient walking sort of suit of power armor. So there you are. Learned something today, maybe. So yeah, what I like them as a faction, and I think it was an interesting choice to include them because, they're not in a lot of stuff. Surprisingly, it's normally in video games. It's normally like Black Legion or Khorne or Word Bearers. Those are the ones that generally get a lot of love from computer games when it comes to chaos. It's like most of the time they sort of avoid the Emperor's Children because most of my units have tits. What am I going to do about that? Even the male ones. Yeah, I know it's Slaanesh. What do you want? And then you've got like the Night Lords, who are just never in anything, which is a shame because they're really cool. But they are one of the more devastated factions, although I believe they're supposed to be rebuilding strength, so we might see a resurgence from them sometime soon. But yeah, and obviously the Iron Warriors. You've got the demon. Was it Cutalaba? I think it's called, something like that, where basically they use women to birth Space Marines and then cover them in human skin. It's pretty gross. It's one of the grosser parts of 40k lore. If you want to check it out, check it out. But it's squishy and gross, and no one would really wish for that fate. Let's just put it that way. Mind you, I've read books where like they put Space Marines as part of machines, use their bodies as machines and stuff, and it's like, oh, maybe like here, and that goes at an unnatural angle. No. Yeah, there's some real fucked up shit. And it's not like dark web type fucked up shit, but it is pretty fucked up when you think you got fathers like getting their 8-year-old sons in the Warhammer and they want to go read the lore, and it's like, yeah, I probably wouldn't let my 8-year-old read that, bro. But Space Marine 2 overall is a hell of a good game. I was looking forward to it a lot, and it certainly didn't. It met all of my expectations. It was basically what I thought it would be. It looks great. It runs pretty well. In fact, the lowest it ever got for me, I think, was it dipped below 60 by like 2 frames at one point, and then came back up. It usually is sort of between 60 and 80 for me, depending on what's going on screen. And this is with a 10700K stock speed, 32 gig of DDR4, and a 10 gig 3080. So base your expectations on that. I am running it on high with DLSS on at 1440p. Obviously the captured footage will be at 1080/60, but you know, that's capturing for you. So it runs pretty well. I could knock it down further. The DLSS implementation is pretty bare bones. It's either on or off, so I don't know what it's actually set to, whether it's performance, whether it's quality, or whatever. The game certainly looks good even with it on, so there you go. It's a great looking game. The swarm mechanics are insane. The amount of Tyranids that will be climbing up walls and shit, you just look at them and go, oh my fucking god, how am I going to survive this? There's millions of the bastards. And yeah, and it's not like some clever effect either. They're physical, like, models and enemies, and there's a lot of them because they come up the walls and you're just like, oh, there's probably some graphical trickery going up the walls. And then they go up the wall and attack you, and it's like, oh shit, no, these are real. Well, you know, it's in the game, but you know, real as in game. And they've also just nailed the feeling of being a Space Marine. I mean, just walking around the battle barge and walking past like the servitors and the Mechanicus guys and just the regular serfs, and you're like twice as tall as them. They come up to like your waist. You're just like, all right, little fella. They do use the word brother far too much, but it's in the spirit of the lore, so you let them get away with that. A lot of people are just like, brother. I think it's going to become a meme, to be honest with you. Just brother. brother. So, there you go. Anyway, that's my review of Space Marine 2. A little bit of a longer one, because I got sidetracked with lore, but I like talking about lore. But we're not going to become a lore channel, don't worry. I don't trust myself with knowing all the ins and outs quite as well as I need to do something like that. So there you are. Space Marine 2, fantastic game. If you like a good action game or have the slightest interest in Warhammer, definitely worth checking out. Unless you're a Tau player, in which case, fuck off out of it. Take it easy, guys, and I'll catch you next time.